Hiya, folks. Wanted to drop in and explain to you something that may not have made a whole lot of sense when you watched it on Sunday. A number of people are asking why the Browns postgame show was so negative. And I just want to do a quick video. I can't sit for very long. My back has just been hellacious. But I want to be able to explain to those people who maybe are not familiar with the Moohead Sports Manifesto. As a matter of fact, there really isn't one. I'm making it up as I go along. I wanted to tell you two stories about me personally so that you can have an understanding of why the reaction I had to the game on Sunday was a final straw for me and the Cleveland Browns organization. This goes back to 2004. In 2004, I was up in Vermont and had a summer home up there. Hi, Cindy. Hi, Greg. Nice to see you guys popping in. This is not a scheduled program. This is an off-the-cuff thing that I wanted to do to explain for people why I feel the way I feel. And in 2004, I was in Vermont, and there was a tennis tournament that I was participating in, and it was a mixture of tennis professionals, teaching pros, people who played on the satellite tour. It was way above my head. I mean, I can honestly tell you that I didn't have a chance really to do very much in the tournament, but when quality players came to the area to play, I wanted to participate. I wanted to financially contribute so that more tournaments like that would be played. In other words, I was the cannon fodder, and they were the real tennis players. And I drew a first-round match with a teaching pro who used to be from the Stowe, Vermont area, but had moved to Brookline, Massachusetts. And the match began, except it was under very odd circumstances. It was raining so hard outside, we were forced to play indoors, and the indoor facility had the air conditioning messed up, and they had to close the doors of the inside facility because it was raining so hard and so much it was going to flood into the playing surface. So with closed doors and no air conditioning, the match proceeded. And the guy I was playing was a good player, and to be quite open about it, he was cheating every chance he got. And it was annoying me, and I decided that no matter what the circumstance, I was going to go out there and I was going to give the guy one hell of a hard time. He's a teaching pro. I'm a fat guy, and believe me, I was 80 pounds heavier than I am now. Okay, you can imagine. The match proceeded to go on for 3.5 hours. All right, I've never played a tennis match that lasted this long in my life. It was fucking crazy. All right, and I was just literally performing on fumes. The guy had cheated me on so many calls, and I was still in this match. And every changeover, I was chastising him, saying, which is the resort, the tennis resort there. He was watching the match, and he was just, and had been watching it for like the final hour and a half of the match. And, it became a morbid curiosity to see if I was going to die of a heart attack on the court. And he turned to people, because he was watching from above, and he said, you know something? I wish I had his heart. I won the match, and I proceeded to have an electrolyte shortage, went into convulsions that evening, and had to forfeit my next round match the next day, because after 3 hours, I was just wasted. All right, that's story number one. Story number two happened last year. A lot of health problems as far as my back is concerned. Playing tennis is one of my favorite things in the world to do. But I can't play singles anymore. I only play doubles due to limitations physically. I decided Longboat Key, which is just down the road, it's on the coast where I live here in Florida, was having a big tournament, tennis tournament, and I decided to join singles, which I hadn't played singles. And I'm not exaggerating by saying 6 years it had been since I had tried to play singles. But I wanted one last opportunity to be on a singles court. And I played a guy from Utah who, this was a tournament that was what's called a Category 2 tournament, which had people, ranked players from all over the country coming to this area. And this guy was from Utah. He wasn't all that great at tennis player. He's in magnificent physical condition. And he got up on me 4-0. I didn't belong on the court, quite honestly. I wasn't in shape, and I couldn't cover the court because of physical restrictions. But it was my final time, and I wanted to do the best I could in the final time that I played. And I got back into the match, won the first set 6-4, pulled a muscle in the second set, still finished the damn thing, and beat the guy. And he came to me afterwards saying, I know you're not going to be able to play your match the next day. He said, you should have forfeited the match to me so that way I could have gone on. And I looked at him and I said, if you can't beat a fat guy with no ACL in his right knee who hadn't played singles in 6 years with a pulled muscle, then you don't deserve to go to the next round of the tournament. Shut the fuck up. Now, the reason I tell you these stories is because my manifesto of sports is, there has to be heart behind something. There has to be a feeling, a love. To me, athletics are like so many other things, like my radio career. There were things that I did not for money. I never got paid to play tennis matches. And in the beginning of my career in radio, I didn't even get paid to be on the radio. I just volunteered. The fact of the matter is, if you love something, you do it as well as you can. As a spectator of sports, fans deserve to be able to, in some way, vicariously live through the heroics of their athletic teams. The fact that I can't play tennis anymore, really, not to any degree, it doesn't stop me from loving the game and watching Roger Federer play or whatever and appreciating how much work and how much effort goes in. When Tiger Woods won this last tournament he won in Japan, it's like, wow, that's the story of a guy who's gone through multiple back surgeries and knee surgeries, and look what he accomplished. That takes heart. And I know that Tiger had his problems, but that takes pure heart. And that, the greatest moments I can think of, whether it's the U.S. hockey team in 1980 beating the Russians, the greatest moments I can think of are things where either underdogs really gave their best effort or somehow managed to beat the odds and won. As a Cleveland sports fan, watching LeBron James lead the Cleveland Cavaliers to a world championship was the most gratifying thing that I've seen, because it wasn't just because I'm a fan of the Cavaliers. It's because I watched LeBron grow up in Northeast Ohio. I watched him each step of the way, and I know how much it meant to him. I knew how much of a goal it was, and for him to have achieved that, all of us who were watching, who would never be able to say in our lives, we're world champions, we're the best at what we do. No, none of us could really say that, but we, for lack of a better word, witnessed that happen, and when we watched it, a piece of us had accomplished what LeBron James and the Cleveland Cavaliers accomplished. And that's why we watch sports, is because we feel that, if nothing else, that we're getting something back from the experience, that we put our trust in the team and that the team returns that faith by putting out the best effort they can, whether it's red right 88 and eventual failure in an AFC championship game, or if it's a single upset that you didn't expect your team to get, it makes it all worthwhile for us. As Cleveland Browns fans, we haven't seen a real good series of weeks in a long, long time. But, we all sat through it because, well, that's what being a fan is. We hope for better days. And we finally got more talent. The last several years, the team wasn't talented at all. But, suddenly we're getting OBJ, we got Nick Chubb, we got Myles Garrett, we got, we got Jarvis Landry, we got all kinds of people. And, hopes are high. We got Baker Mayfield. We got rid of Hugh Jackson. And we had our hopes up high. And if it was just a matter of losing, I would say, you can win, you can lose. But to have no heart, to have no guts, that a guy who is a satellite professional player would look at me and would say, God, I wish I had that guy's heart. And for me to be watching on this at home on the TV saying, God, I wish these guys had my heart. It's hard. It's difficult. And it's not justifiable. Watching a head coach do stupid things because he's not ready for a job makes it all the more frustrating. Watching players have absolutely no cohesion, like they've never met one another or ever practiced together. That hurts. Knowing that the coach has no control over his team because his punt team runs out on the field before they're instructed to do so and forces him to use a timeout that ends up losing the game for them, or making decisions not to use his best players in critical situations just because he wants to prove that he's a head coach. So amidst all of this talent, we still manage from the top to hire the wrong people, and we got a quarterback coach who's never done the job. Eric Zampese had a tighter relationship with Baker Mayfield. We all want to ask what happened to Baker. Well, they went ahead and switched things around on Baker. And right now, Baker's not a very motivated guy, and he's confused, and he's really having failure for the first time in his life. Guy wins in high school, he wins in college. His first year in the pros, he turns around a team. And now in the second year, this happens. And it's like, he's obviously beaten up emotionally. And we got a guy like Lindley who's a never-before quarterback coach. There's nobody to turn to. A head coach who's never done the job before. It's just a bad situation. But the thing that I can't abide by, besides the stupidity, is the organization sending out tweets. I don't know if you're receiving these tweets, but I told them just to bite my ass. If you look at my Twitter feed, you'll see what I did. The Cleveland Browns organization is sending out, we're all ready now to go out and really turn this thing around. And it's like 8 weeks. 8 weeks into the season, we still don't have this right. And the organization thinks that it can cover this up with a Band-Aid of a few tweets. And the only reason the organization's tweeting this shit out is because they know that the fan base is just turned on them. And you know something? I want you to. I've turned on them. I've gone rogue and renegade. Because my manifesto of sports is, if they don't give a shit about what they're doing, if the coach doesn't give a shit enough to play his best players, if a player goes on and threatens to kill Dustin Fox. Now, look, I got to be honest with you. Dustin Fox is a nice guy. He was just pointing out what I pointed out. Whitehead could have threatened my life based on saying the same thing Fox said. The same thing. That he blew a tackle, several tackles in the game, and cost us big plays because he was gutless. And then he proves how gutless he is by turning around and making those kinds of threats on Twitter. You know that I have criticisms of people in the press because if your job means so much to you that you purposely ask softball questions and you refuse to acknowledge what's happening with the organization, you refuse to get into a conversation about why Higgins has fallen behind Kadero Dodge on the depth chart, when you refuse to ask a simple question of the head coach like, why in the world would you have sneaked a 6-foot quarterback into the line instead of handing the ball off and to a 230-pound sledgehammer who leads the league in yards after contact? Why? Nobody asks the questions. And as fans, we deserve better. We may never win a championship, but how about a team we could be proud of? There's not a fan who watches this program. There's not a fan who watches the program who wouldn't revel in a Super Bowl. At this point, who wouldn't revel in a playoff appearance. We're not asking the sun, the moon, and the stars. And even if you can't guarantee presence in the playoffs, you can at least have good players. And you can at least have people with coaching experience. And when you don't do these things, and then you leak to the press that Freddie Kitchens is going to remain the head coach through 2019, and you don't have the balls to say it yourself, then I look at Jimmy Haslam and I say, you know, you don't even deserve to be in the position you're in. You inherited your father's company, fuck you. You know, you're having your little marketing team send out their tweets and you're backdooring the media by leaking that Freddie's going to stick around for the rest of 2019. Well, you know, I haven't changed my mind one bit since Sunday. I'm through with them. Done. But I wanted to explain to you why. Because if a 300-pound man can stand out on a tennis court for 3.5 hours because he had something to prove, then an organization that hasn't won anything and hasn't won the penultimate game in its entire existence, when they have nothing to prove except the income that they derive from commercials, endorsements, and their paychecks, then there's nothing as fans that we can relate to. When you see this video, I want you to do me a favor. I want you to comment, but not on what I'm saying. I want you to comment on the moment as a fan that you watched a sporting event that stays in your mind and has stayed in your mind forever. What were your goosebump moments where you got goosebumps when you watched something? Do you ever cry when your team won? Not just when they lost. Do you ever have a moment in time that you remember that you were watching your team with friends of yours and that moment is indelibly etched in your mind? You have those moments? Write them down as comments for this show. Because that's why we watch sports. I'd much rather watch the Cleveland Cavaliers, as limited as they are, give their best effort on the floor than watch a bunch of guys who are talented just dissipate. And it's one of the reasons why I got so upset about Jason Kipnis through the years. You knew it was going to end the way it ended with Kipnis because he never was healthy enough to play, but the organization kept staying with him. And thank God we finally got rid of Danny Salazar. You know, as fans, we sit back and say, this isn't working. All we're asking is that you put something on the field, a product that makes sense. Don't take Jose Ramirez away from his natural position to pay fat and injured Jason Kipnis at his 226 average. He has no arm, can't throw people out from short outfield, or can't fucking turn a double play for shit. And he's got no range. Why do you keep playing him? And how many times have we seen that with the Indians, that they keep going to the well, to the same people over and over and over? It's hard to remain fans when what we see doesn't inspire us. So get inspired now. Write a comment on the program and tell me your favorite sports moments. They don't have to be Cleveland sports moments. For me as a boxing fan, I can tell you a bunch of them. Like with Muhammad Ali with Parkinson's syndrome beat Leon Spinks the second time they fought. And he clearly was up against it. He clearly didn't have his best stuff, but he willed himself to dance for 15 rounds. Willed himself with that condition. Can you imagine what it took to do that? Guy watching me play tennis, hell, that's nothing. Can you imagine? Somebody saying Arturo Gatti, the late Arturo Gatti, and Mickey Ward, all three fights. There's something to say about, Marvin Hagler and Tommy Hearns. Three of the best fucking rounds you'll ever see in your life, right? Things that make you stand up, not just sit down and watch, even if you're in your living room. That's why we watch sports, because it inspires us in a way that we cannot inspire ourselves. We get older, our bodies break down, and sometimes we just want to live vicariously through the efforts of others because maybe we can't do it anymore. And I wish the owners of sports organizations would recognize this in their fans more. That, give us something to look at that we can truly feel great about. And even if we don't win in the ultimate fashion, we have memories. I remember the games where Brian Sipe came back with the cardiac kids. Hell, I can tell you plays, run, William, run. And William Green broke free. Moments that you stand up and you say, wow, I wasn't expecting that. And that's why we watch, because we want to be pleasantly surprised. Well, that's really all I have to say today. So if I sounded negative to you, now you understand why. And I've never known how to do anything athletically except the very best I know how to do. And I can tell you, I got trounced in a lot of tennis tournaments by a lot of really good players, and I lost some matches to guys who really weren't that good, but had more on that day than I did. And I respected them for that. And every time I went out, I gave my best. If I had to play through injury, whatever it took, just the best I could do. That's all I ask. And we see that this is the best that Freddie can do, and it's not good enough. He's not experienced. Is this the best that Myles Garrett can do? We look at this and we look at guys, of OBJ lining up on the wrong side 3 times a game. Is this the best that OBJ can do? And I want to hold them responsible in some way. Be constructive. When the Browns organizations unleashes these asinine tweets, respond. Respond to them. Give us a product that we can be proud of. We were on our feet cheering for 7-8-1 last year. And here we are again, 2-6. But worse than that, no future because the coach is gone at the end of the year. Whenever they tell you they're keeping somebody till the end of the year, they're gone at the end of the year. And we got to go through this horse shit all over again. And if you're like me, you're not going to believe whoever comes in next because it'll be a Haslam decision. We just shake our heads and we say, I've just lost faith. That's where I am. I am going to do my best to get back here on Friday to do a regular program. I hope my back allows me to do it. Everybody have a good rest of the week. And thanks for jumping in and saying hi to me during the course of the program. Mr. Fergus, I can write down things that are, click on things, It's who doesn't give about the damn about the fans. It's the people making the money, and it's the people in the front offices who expect us to buy season tickets, and this is what they, and we end up, I had a number of people, why are you so damn negative? It's like, because I've been watching this for too damn long, and the effort isn't there. Give me effort. Thanks a lot. I'll see you again, God willing, on Friday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.